Hello everyone, this is Dark Marketing. I'm your host Big Dom, and this is SEO PowerTalk episode 2. Now, in this episode, I'm going to try not to do a rant. I'm in the office right now, I'm working, everything is in full swing, I've got a lot of systems running. I'm running Money Robots and GSA Search Engine Ranker and a number of GSA website contact, along with some scrapebox systems. So as I've been working my way around the office doing various things, I realized the things we need to talk about in concept so that you understand. So, and a lot of this is based on the feedback that comes from comments and questions that I get, and other information that I'm watching while I'm working or listening to on YouTube from some of the top sources. So here's my theme for today. I want you guys to forget about DR value. DR, domain rank. I want you to just get that out of your head, okay? Because the metrics that we're playing upon in these strategies have nothing to do with DR value, okay? And so let's just step back for a second, because what I want to do is I want you to understand the metrics that we're going after and how to think about your analysis differently, okay? Because if you're out there and you're on YouTube and you're looking at different people's videos, especially when it comes to backlinking, and they're talking about getting links with certain DR values, and when I say backlinking videos, not all the videos are these type of videos where we're talking about automation, but rather people attempting to get backlinks through other manual and reach out programs to get those backlinks. So that being said, I want you to understand that a backlink, regardless of its DR value, has no value if it's out of context. So before we go there, let me just show you, I'm not showing you my clients' names, but this is the second website of one of my clients. Now, the domain has been around for a while. We run 2 versions of the website. The second one is a bit for like experimental purposes. It's a little more stripped down. Look at the domain name ranking. 1.7. Understand? That's as low as it. It's not going to get any lower, unless when it was 0.9. It's gone up a little, right? So now, this website I am tracking with advanced web ranking, okay? I'm going to come over here, and you can't see my clients' names. I have to white them out. But the client's main website is this top line on the chart. And this is a visibility chart, and it is a compilation of analysis of Google, Bing, and Yahoo, and grouping the top results together to give a general charting of a little under 800 search phrases that I track to define this company's market share. The second line on this graph is that website with the 1.7 domain rank value. Okay? Now, let me pause a second and now, this is the tracking for that second website and a breakdown per search engine. So we can see here in our blue line, this is our 6-month overview, but we're all right now kind of in the same zone. We've had some up and down with various search engines, but you see Google Desktop Universal, and that 539 number for desktop search results, that's a good number. Now, when I come back over here to the full visibility analysis, the second site overall is averaging in the number 2 spot, and the next 4 competitors are all sitting far below. Okay, so what does that tell me? That tells me Google does not give a rat's ass about your DR value. They are focused on the newest, latest, and greatest in combination of other values. But against this landscape, and this company has many competitors, the problem with its competition is that many of the competitors are just competing for the exact phrase but there's no competition at the end of the day for the end product. However, there's a lot more companies competing for the phrases that don't compete for the product, and so that makes it more difficult to break in at those entry points. And then it has other market segments that are extremely competitive with a tight-knit range of competitors that only this company and those other companies fit into, and they don't get the crossover from those other phrases. This is a very difficult competitor in the grand scheme of things. And to see this 1.7 DR value and still does phenomenal results on Google and other search engines, it's because that's not the metrics that we're playing into. So I want you to just get DR and this sort of climbing the ladder mentality out of your mind, out of your brain, and start looking up. When you look up at the sky and you see all those stars, understand that the distances between them and beyond and behind, and some of them are galaxies, it's not what it looks like. Look beyond the data. So now let's go back to Hrefs and think about things a little bit different. Okay? Here's a client that has approached me, and I've been doing a big review on them, and they have already attempted to engage in having backlinking on their own. And it's not a pretty site to get into. Now, this company is an EDI service provider, and here's a legitimate backlink from a blog article about 25 great EDI service providers. EDI is a high technology service. Okay, this is a big company that interacts with many other large companies servicing their electronic data exchange needs. Okay, so when I see these things, an essential oils toxic to dogs, okay, or hoster brands, let's see here, Horizon BBQ smokers, and what they're getting is these links, which are blog posts made to look like web pages, or extensive blogs that were created through automation, and at the very bottom they're dropping this company's logo and link, and that's all they're getting. Understand? And we're seeing it on a range of similar sites with the same pattern, and these sites all have one thing in common. Here's our client again, so I got to gray it out, but all of these guys have one thing in common. Oh, this one looks like a Squarespace, powered by Squarespace. Okay. All of these have one thing in common. They are completely unrelated to the company and the topic, whatsoever. And so understand that these sort of backlinks, when I go and let's get back to and look at what they've got. They've got 18,000 backlinks. It's 18,000 backlinks of nothing that's going to do them any good. And any DR value that these links have, because we see the DR values here, any DR value is completely irrelevant because Google doesn't care about that. Google wants the source, the content of what is being talked about here to be related to the source that it's backlinking. A lowered, very low DR value post could be 0, but it's new and it looks good and legitimate and has the right anchor text backlinks going back, and all of the things that I've touched upon in these videos in the approach of what we're trying to do is simulate the ecosystem of our competitors. Understand? Now, I'm not going to go into this potential new clients, competitors, and all of that, but what I want you guys to get from this is stop thinking about, DR value. Forget this. Put a blindfold on. Get away from that. Your own DR value will come from getting this process started. And there will be if you've got quality content, that the real source that you're promoting, you will get backlinks for your real source. And you probably, on occasion, should endeavor, when the opportunity presents itself, to get good backlinks or sources that you could trade a backlink for. But if you're like most of us, we're not going to get a backlink on Forbes or the New York Times or any of those. The kind of a DR value, it's because it's not just that they have a DR value, it's that they get like measurable amounts of traffic. They've got fast-moving, updated content daily. And so when you get caught in that, of course, you're going to get a boost. But over the long term, most of that just turns into just, recognition that you can claim that on your site at the bottom, that you've got a backlink from one of these really high-profile sites like Forbes or Wall Street Journal or New York Times or some newspaper or trending magazine related site, whatever it may be. For the rest of us in the real world, we're not going to be getting those. You're not going to be getting those with your small business. So what you need to do is make the most of the metrics that you can. And so forget about this idea that you're going to capture these big DR value links, because they're not going to do anything for you. Google doesn't care about that. Google wants the latest and greatest. And so what you need to be doing is focusing on the strategies that we outline here, which is working on good content and getting that content backlinked. That's what the approach is here in that regard. And I had another gentleman asked about, local SEO. Local SEO is really no different in the approach with these things. Keep your locality with your local SEO on the website. In fact, you should have a page for the state, the county, and a page for every city and town that you service in your local business. However, in your backlinking approach, don't do it. You're not going to put anything about location in your backlinking or posting articles. You're going to fall back to that strategy. Like, look, let's go to Google and let's think, what's a local business that you're going to find everywhere, okay? Air conditioning. Wait. Let's try heating repair. And of course, near me comes up. So let's just go with that, okay? So, here we go. HVAC pros. Hey. That's a phrase, HVAC, for this industry. Just kind of brain farted into me. But let's take a look at who comes up. Well, we got Angies List, right? Yelp. HVAC, Nazareth, PA. Okay? Now, let's see. We got all these things, right? So let's just take a look. Who's got blogs? Reviews, expert tips. Look at that. And there it is. They're calling it expert tips, but it's a blog. Here we go. And there it is under their path. Articles. Understand? The guys that lead the pack, even in the local SEO, they have blogs. Okay? So even if you're a local business or company and that's what you're trying to promote, you need to have the content to support this approach. So knowing that these sites have a lead by having blog content just to provide local area services, imagine when you do that and you're able to really take it to the next level, because you can simulate a metric of backlinking with similar articles in the same vein, terminologies, backlinked with anchor keyword text to your blog articles. Understand? And we always, like I've outlined in a lot of these, the bulk we want to keep off-site, and you want to sprinkle your main domain in there a bit, and sometimes even some other sites. There's all those little tips and tricks that I outline in these videos. But this is the vein in which I want you to think about SEO, is that, hey, SEO, you need content, and I don't care who it is. And in today's age, with blogs being such a driving factor because Google wants new stuff, and ChatGPT making it easy for anyone to create blog articles, if you're not following this basic formula, you're going to get, you're going to fall behind, because ChatGPT, hey guys, ChatGPT, it's not taking over the world, okay? It's not, Terminator 2, it's not Skynet, it's nowhere near anything like that, okay? It makes a lot of mistakes, but I'll tell you what ChatGPT does. It will fast track you and help you accomplish the things like you're a boss, and you say, now instead of me writing the blog, I have someone I can go and really, outline my details and create some content. And most of these blogs that these guys have to do in repair related, and I just use that because almost anything repair, you'll see a similar thing, whether it's auto repair, appliance repair, certain types of, all these things that get serviced locally in your area. The guys that dominate have learned that if they put blog articles up, and those blog articles, they will get backlinks, and they do a little social media, bada bing, bada boom. This is a metric that Google wants, and the other search engines. They don't care about your DR value. So get that out of your head. That value is more of a side effect than it is something that you think that you're going to get somebody's link with a high DR value. If it's not, I don't care if that came from the website. I don't want to, with the highest DR value in the world, if it's unrelated to you, it's probably, do you really think that even if Apple put a link to this guy on their site, it would help them? No, probably not, because Google would probably be like, what the hell is that about? It just wouldn't make sense to their metric, because this has nothing to do with that. And, electronic data transfer has nothing to do with essential oils that are toxic to dogs or any of these other things that we're seeing backlinks to. That is the, and this is the world that people get into when they're asking about DR value, and they're, they want to run these softwares, and they want to talk about DR value because everyone's looking at that. And there is a path to sort of trying to follow that strategy, but it's like mining for gold. You're either paying for high value backlinks, or you're spending all of your time to do backlinks, which is just a phenomenal, a never-ending endeavor, which will not last forever. I'm sorry, I don't care how many you get. If you don't keep your websites active, have new content, keep updating, keep things updated, all of that stuff, those DR value backlinks, they're going to become useless over time. Lots of sites out there that have tanked, that have tons of big DR value backlinks. It's not about that. It's about what's happening now, okay? Not what's happening later on. So understand and get that paradigm out of your mind. Look past DR values and think more about simulating the metrics. When you're looking at your competitors and the kind of search phrases they're coming up with, the sites you want to compete against, look at their backlinks. Look at the kind of backlinks that they have, the type of post. And that's what we want to simulate with our posts. We're creating our own. When we're making our backlink post, we're trying to make it look like we're somebody else that has an article that's backlinking to relevant content. Understand? And we want to make that look as natural as possible in the ecosystem. So all these things are part of the process. Now, I don't have a good example here in these backlinking data. I'd have to, off the top of my head, someone I can search for. But we're talking about blog posts. And this is what they used, but the wrong approach. But that's what we're doing with our backlinking. The brunt of our strategy is focused on blogs, okay? So when you're analyzing your Hrefs, your competitors, it's important to also look at what is the resource, because you're going to find Pinterest in there, you're going to find guest book postings to sites, and those guest book or comments are going to be on things that have high DR value, and they're going to be able to have a backlink back to themselves. Understand? So that is the angle where you're trying to really look for higher DR values, which brings us back to GSA search engine ranker, because I get a lot of questions in this vein about using it for building rank, and obviously. So if you're using it in that vein, which is the same vein of every other video of software that I'm covering on this channel, stay away from all these additional options, okay? Now, especially if you're using a list and you're starting out and you're purchasing someone else's list. And I've been reading some bad things about some of the lists, some of which that I subscribe to. I got to check up on them and do a few checks because I haven't been using them. But understand, when I'm using GSA to build rank and look for high DR value websites, I'm not posting 10,000 links. I'm not even getting 1,000. I am doing my own scraping, and I'm taking my time, and if I get 10 to 50 really good backlinks posted in a month that get a high DR value and there's something related, and that is where using the guest book or the forum, okay? Or does this have a comment on here? But that doesn't matter because we also have Scrapebox, and we can use Scrapebox to also sort out and find good sites that have high DR value that we can place a comment, but we would like them to be related because, listen guys, if you're selling apples, I'm sorry, you can't backlink oranges, okay? Because we're talking about two different things that completely, just like Google knows, if I search for Apple, I'm not looking for Macintosh or, Martha's Vineyard. I'm looking for Apple, iPhone, computer, understand? So it's kind of the same thing. And whenever it comes to those DR value links, these are some of the other careful approaches, and we'll be getting into that down the road. And how do I even identify, by using a PR checker to check the values of the links that we can, because getting good comments and guest books to post is a really good approach, but it only really works well if you get them from the right kind of resources. So you see how we're trying to establish our connections in the scope of DR value. That is when it's going to help you, when you actually get something on a site that is related. And yes, of course, if you could get listed on Forbes, it's almost a one-size-fits-all because anybody that's a business. But in the real world, like I said, most of us, we're never going to be on Forbes. So we're trying to fit into the ecosystem of what we're doing. And you're not going to go and approach to try to get high DR value links right out of the box if you haven't already established a good metric of backlinking and latest and greatest of blog postings that are really kind of happening at lower levels. And like I said, when you think about tiers, think about the software in tiers as Money Robot being a great low-tier base product to start building off of. Because remember, when you look at your posts that Money Robot makes, go take a look. At the bottom, they have a comment section. Now just imagine that you can go and take another resource that's related, use your Scrapebox software, and feed that list into it and post a comment to a backlink. So if you're backlinking one type of thing and you realize, hey, I've got an opportunity to get something else in there with these existing posts because you've got that list of URLs when you ran the campaign. We're trying to fit where we belong. We need a relationship in terms of the terminologies, because at the end of the day, Google is not going to go all the way down and crawl through every link through tiered structures like people think, like a pyramid. I'm sorry, that is not how it works. And those ideas of those tier structures, it's like, it's so two-dimensional. And we are living in this is a five-dimensional process, if not more, when you start thinking about all the different platforms. But at a minimum, just like the world we live in, it's four-dimensional. And time also plays a factor. And that's why having the new the latest, the greatest, keeping a flow, establishing a metric, a certain level of metrics. And then gradually, as you work your way up to more advanced softwares like a Ranker X or SEO Autopilot, or you jump right to GSA. But I would say, you really need, 2 products to kind of really make the process efficient. Because GSA is not the one to give you the high quantity of backlinks. It's going to give you the high quality. And if you take the high quantity road with this, and you're not doing it in a safe way, well, it's different if you're doing affiliate marketing and it's not going to impact any SEO related resources directly. That's another topic. But in the context of SEO, and that's what we're talking about here, this is not something you want to go out and try to generate. Even with those lists, I would be very hesitant to take 10,000 backlinks. One tool that's nice is the SER, the GSA, SE. It's not GSA, but SER, SER. Maybe I got to find that link and post it. They have an API key. It adds the PBN 2.0 blogs, extends that. And so it's just kind of like using Money Robot or Ranker X or SEO Autopilot and reaching those PBN blog networks. Okay, guys, so I hope this helps you think a little bit different about SEO and get that DR, climbing the scoring ladder, but rather, think past that. We want to get past that. Think three-dimensional. Let's go beyond what you're thinking. The relationship is about words, not about numbers. It's about the context. And where does that concept come from? Topical authority? Just makes sense. Well, because everything shows that everybody's backlinking to somebody at the top that has a lot of blogs and resources about that subject matter, that it becomes considered topical authority. So that is in the end a big part of what we're trying to do in this process, is build a high ranking factor for broader ranges of phrases utilizing topical authority. So let me simplify the formula in its explanation of how we're capitalizing on this metric of the fast moving, latest content, what's new, that Google is trying to really favor by creating new content on your website. Aside from all of your other SEO strategies for your physical product pages and content, etc., but capitalizing by using blogs to constantly create new content, and that content is being followed by relevant content that is backlinking to that content. It's like the natural order of things. Popular sites that post good blog articles get backlinked to by other related relevant articles, just like I showed in some of those, like the baking scenario, okay, was a really good example. But one thing you can see is that even local businesses benefit by having blogs. They are tapping into that additional content. And not only does that content make them more searchable on the whole, but it drives that ranking factor, those scoring factors that you're not going to see on Ahrefs. To ultimately, in some way, it overall affects your DR value. But at the end of the day, that is not going to impact anything, as I've demonstrated. When it comes to Google, they ignore that. And the real reality is you are creating new content, and then you are creating the content that's relevant, that's going to backlink to that in the natural order over time as it comes up behind it. And what happens is you grow and you inflate. You get a broader range of phrases and terminologies that you can capitalize on that you cannot do enough efficiently in your fixed content pages. Understand? So, understanding this principle, that is what we are chiefly trying to focus on, and then filling in the gaps on those other aspects with the DR values. And we're going to get into that ultimately on how to really capitalize on those other things like comments and guest book, which are kind of often similar or the same thing. But how we're going to approach that and how we're going to filter them out. And that's a great thing about GSA, because in reality, you could just tell it, hey, I don't want to post on anything that's less than a certain rank value, and it's got to be related because you're scraping and searching for your own type of products and services. Like in that baking example, I'd be searching and scraping for baking sites, understand? Or I might use a different approach to create my lists to put into GSA search engine ranker so that I can specifically target the ones I want. I've already pre-checked their PR values, or perhaps I'm going to take them to Scrapebox, which is an alternative just for that guest book comment sort of approach. GSA also provides you the form approach, and then of course there's X-Rumor, and we're going to be getting into all of those. But safety first, everyone. Stick to the blog formats for the ranking factors, especially when it comes to GSA. And for now, you might want to avoid those lists. Stick to the more basic, friendly programs that are going to keep you on the safer sites. A lot of those GSA site lists, they're just trying to make a list to make sure that they have something for you to download every month. So not all of those sites are really going to be good for you. And the fact is, because you're running that same list that everybody else is running, a pattern is forming. You post 10, 50,000 links on all of these platforms and somebody else does the exact same pattern. We want to avoid pattern matching, things that Google is going to pick up on, those sorts of scope of things. So you run GSA in its totality with an SEO approach, it's going to, all of those type of mixed things suddenly happening at once are going to trigger a red flag with Google because they know it's not natural. You have to control how you create, post, and present in quality the different types of backlinks that you're going to create. And that's it for this video. That being said, now I've been getting a lot of questions and requests. Do I know of resources where people can buy lists, or more specifically, they've been looking for targeted ones? And now that I'm really kind of taking that road where I'm building my own much more targeted list for my own purposes, I realized that one of the purposes of my making this dark marketing website was with that intention to build lists, both for GSA website contact and GSA search engine ranker, and how you can really maximize those lists, if they're actually targeted, I think is a much better approach than what we really see that's out there today. And so now that I'm going down that road, I plan to really make some things available in the coming weeks. I'm really sorry I'm behind with this website. I've been doing a lot of back-end work, but I've been bogged down with my SEO business and with the new backlinking services provided by SEO Depot. So as soon as time permits, because the process is already in flow for me, building these lists and realizing that, I think I can make something a bit more high quality in terms of that the lists that I'm building are the type of genres that are going to be more receptive to marketing approaches through contact forms. And I think that's a big thing to making this a winning proposition. And of course, I don't think that quantity necessarily supersedes quality. There's a time when you can do a very general campaign because your product is a one-size-fit-all, and other times when you really need to be extremely specific. And so quantity isn't as much or as important as the quality, and that, it's better to have 50,000 really targeted links that that you can have success with rather than running a campaign. I think of my GSA website contact campaigns as, let's close this GSA search engine ranker, but I've got a copy of GSA website contact on here, and I think about these campaigns in 100,000 segments. I run my campaigns in increments of 100,000, and generally, on average, that'll take me 3 days and nights if I keep it running straight through. And that's not always the case. A lot of times I will pause things at night. I'll leave all the systems on, but I'll pause them because in case anything goes wrong, I want to be awake for it. And there are other times I just let them run. But in this context for this, I'm seeing a lot of better things. Currently I'm running 4 campaigns of GSA website contact, promoting my services on SEO Depot. Now, that being said, Each campaign is configured differently, and I'm going to be talking about that in the next video, which is a lead-in, which is a crossover from these scrape box. So we'll be talking about scrape box a little bit more, but going really into more of the detailed guts and setup of GSA website contact and some of the variations that I've done and some of the varied results that I've got, which were unexpectedly, or surprisingly much more successful than I thought, despite the fact that I was seeing low rates. So those are things that we'll be talking about a lot more. But I think in the scope of getting links that are more targeted, that I'm working out really good approaches for that and building some nice lists, and I've got my systems running, and I need some time to accumulate the right things and formulate a right process, and we'll get that up here along with some other things on dark marketing for you guys, possibly a little forum thing, a little community where we can communicate a little bit more than just through the comments section. I have a lot of people coming to SEO Depot and using the chat app, so I'll try to make something that where people can get a little more direct access, or other than sending me via email. That's it for this video, guys, and I hope everyone has a great day. That being said, remember to follow this. If you like these videos and you want to see more of this, give us a like. And remember, now if you found my channel because you were searching for backlinking and related SEO, and you realize that these types of softwares and getting into this is more than you realize you're able to get involved with. You handle your own SEO, perhaps you're even an SEO agency, or you have the real business of what you do behind your websites, but you recognize that you need these high quality backlinking approaches, then visit us at SEOdepot.com. Link building services that actually work, providing greater stability against Google algorithm changes and increased rebound times from severe changes due to the algorithm. But over time, it will also increase your page rank and responses to a broader range of search phrases on Google and other search engines, inflating your presence dramatically over time. With strategically engineered tiered content that backlinks to your site with information, images, and videos from your source. All of the content created and generated is related topically to the content of your website and services. We will also provide a professional SEO audit and technical analysis that we will use to provide some coaching and give you some additional tips and approaches that will augment your existing SEO and help maximize the process of backlinking to expand your presence on the internet and search engines. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.